The 23-year-old gang member would find himself bleeding out on the floor of his parents' restaurant as his attackers raid the venue and stab him straight in the back. This story takes place in Elephant and Castle, an area of South London in the borough of Southwark. South London is typically known for having a large number of gangs across the borough, and this battle with tit-for-tat gang violence seen many innocent people losing their lives. The main person of this video would be involved in gang activity and would eventually become a victim to the streets. The person I'm referring to is 23-year-old Ian Gualavisi. Ian was described as a hard-working man who worked in his family's Ecuadorian restaurant, Rincon Costeño, located in Elephant and Castle. The future seemed bright for Ian, but on the other side of the coin, Ian also had a dark past. He was heavily involved in the gang life and will get the name Migo from the Cuckoo gang.
I was in Johan, blowing a stereo bang. I thought I DJ spin it. Bro got his poker tucked and so do I. We're twinning.
You see, the Cuckoo gang is based in Kennington, an area in South London located in the borough of Lambeth. The two main gangs in Kennington are Cuckoo, who are located on Black Prince Road, and a gang I've made multiple videos on called Harlem Spartans. Cuckoo was formerly known as Kennington Black Mob, followed by the younger offshoot set BYM, which stands for Back Your Mash. This basically means pull out your gun. The Kennington Black Mob will have beef with surrounding groups Gas Gang and OC, and the tit-for-tat violence will lead to 15-year-old Alex Commando being stabbed in the heart as he got off a bus with his friends. By the mid-2010s, the gang would change its name to Cuckoo, after being influenced by the term Cuckoo Gang from Chicago in the United States, with Cuckoo basically meaning crazy. This would be the same time that Ian Gualavisi would become a prominent member and will start releasing music under the name of Migo KuKu. With the type of music Ian was producing, he will start to gain a lot of traction from the UK drill scene, and when your name starts to ring bells in that scene, it's only a matter of time before rival members come to attack. The problem Ian was facing was that whilst he was known in the scene, he was also working at his family's restaurant, which made him a massive target. On the 18th of December 2018, Ian will be attacked for the first time just outside the family restaurant, and police will be called. The fight, which was allegedly gang related, was serious enough that it triggered a review of the premises license, and at that time the licensing subcommittee decided that Ian Gualavisi, who was the son of the license holder, should be permanently banned from the venue along with another man, Bernardo Palacios. The Gualavisi family, despite the warning, will continue running the business like normal, with Ian still being a part of the restaurant. However, with the news that Ian, aka Migo, was still working at the restaurant, his rivals and people he had a problem with will continue to attack, as they knew exactly where to find him. On Saturday the 10th of July 2021, around 6-7 people were inside the shop drinking around the bar. One of the cameras shows Ian sitting and drinking from a beer bottle. Around 2:40 AM, a man then walks behind him, grabs a glass bottle and smashes it over Ian's head. This is when the fight now breaks out, and the attacker pulls out a machete and allegedly stabbed Ian. After being attacked, Ian somehow made his way out of the restaurant, where paramedics found him and rushed him to a hospital. Despite the seriousness of what happened, police later discovered that no one inside the premises had called 999, and the scene had been cleaned up and locked before officers arrived. The Southwark Council later stated that this looked like a deliberate attempt to conceal the fact that a violent crime had taken place on the licensed premises. The restaurant, after the first attack, didn't want to attract any attention from the council in fear that they may lose their restaurant, so they decided to act like nothing happened and locked up the place. Ian refused to talk to the police about the incident, which is when they went down to the restaurant and got access into the property from a key holder. Inside they found blood scattered everywhere, tables and chairs turned over, along with smashed glass on the floor. Council records shows that after this fight, the police alleged that by allowing Ian back inside the venue, even though he was previously banned from being part of the restaurant, the owners had breached their licensing conditions. It's not actually stated what final action was taken as a result of this breach, but the memo recommended that all staff receive conflict management training within 28 days, all staff be retrained in CCTV operation, and the management team to improve how they communicate with emergency services during serious incidents. This was another wake-up call for Ian, but with the family pressure to keep the business running, he would ignore the warning signs and his luck would eventually run out. On the 14th of December 2021, two men would arrive outside the Rincon Costeño restaurant owned by Ian's parents. Ian was working at the restaurant on this day and was getting ready to close, but just outside the venue was two men, one in a high-vis jacket and the other in dark clothing, both with crash helmets trying to conceal their identity. CCTV will capture the two men talking and debating on what I think was whether they should enter the restaurant at that moment and if Ian was inside. The attacker in all black will nod his head, which is when the other attacker with the high-vis pulls out a knife and runs straight into the restaurant. In the next set of footage, you can see Ian spot the attackers and runs off to the back of the restaurant whilst the attacker with the knife chases after him. The attacker goes on to stab him once in the back before running back out with the other attacker. This whole situation took place in a matter of seconds, and Ian was stabbed in front of his parents whilst they called the police as the son bled out on the floor inside the family restaurant. The two attackers will hop back on the moped and sped down the road through Burgess Park, where they eventually ditched the moped on the Elmington estate and set fire to it. Emergency services would eventually arrive at the Rincon restaurant, but was already too late, and Ian Gualavisi, aka Migo from Cuckoo, was pronounced dead from just a single stab wound. A massive investigation will now be launched for the murder of 23-year-old Ian Gualavisi. The first task was to reconstruct exactly how the attack unfolded. Investigators recovered multiple CCTV feeds from the restaurant itself, nearby shops, and CCTV to track mopeds moving through the Elephant and Castle junction. Detectives quickly identified the attacker's stolen moped, seen entering Hampton Street from Walworth Road at 7:43 PM and leaving only 2 minutes later. The only issue is that the moped the police had their eyes on was already set on fire and had no real evidence that could help with identifying the two attackers. With the lack of real evidence, police also issued appeals for dashcam and doorbell footage from anyone near Walworth Road, Hampton Street and Camberwell between 7:30 and 8:15 PM. Detectives publicly said that they were confident that the moped was in the area for some time before the attack, hinting at the fact that this was a planned attack. Despite more than 50 witness statements and hundreds of CCTV clips, no one came forward with names of the attackers. So 3 months later, in March 2022, the investigation was featured on BBC Crime Watch Live, where the CCTV footage was shared to the public for the first time. With this new footage out to the public, we'll bring in some new leads and see many teenagers arrested and brought in for questioning in relation to Ian's death. Two men, both aged 24, were arrested on suspicion of murder and later released under investigation. Additional arrests will be made in 2022. 4 males aged between 16 and 21 were arrested but released pending further inquiries. The investigation produced a number of arrests but no straightforward convictions, and to this day the murder of Ian Gualavisi remains unsolved. There's a lot of speculations in the scene, with people saying that this attack wasn't gang related and was actually because of a personal problem that Ian had with someone else. The fact Ian was still working at the restaurant whilst knowing that people were after him is just crazy to hear. Ian was working to take control and start running the family business, but his tie to the gang life was just setting him back, and the fact that a lot of his rivals knew where he was working didn't make things any easier. He was lucky to be alive after the 2 prior incidents, but all it took was one stab wound to the back to end everything. If we look back at the footage, it's not actually known what was said between the two attackers before they ran into the restaurant, but with the different gestures and movements, it's almost as if they were debating whether they should do it or not. But the guy in the high vis just pulls out the knife and goes through with it. His family was present when the whole thing was happening, and they had to see their son literally die in front of their eyes. This is the sad reality of gang violence, and it's crazy how these clowns have no regard for human life. The family of Ian would now have to live with the memory of their son's death for the rest of their life. Like I said before, this case is still unsolved, and the two attackers have never been caught to this day. But if you take one thing from this video, maybe that their gang life is stupid, and it's not something you want to be involved in. Go put your energy into something that will actually benefit you in life, and I'll see you lot in the next one. God bless.